Hi everyone, welcome to Pharmd Guru. In this video, we are going to talk about drug dosing in the elderly and pediatrics and obese patients. And yes, it's a fast-track video. So, go to our website, open the study material. Drug dosing in the elderly. Point 1. Defining elderly is difficult. The geriatric population is often arbitrarily defined as patients who are older than 65 years, and many of these people live active and healthy lives.
It means there isn't a single clear definition of elderly. People over 65 years old are often considered elderly, but many in this age group remain healthy and active. So, age alone doesn't define someone's health.
Point 2. Increasing number of people living beyond 85 years. There is an increasing number of people who are living beyond 85 years old, who are often considered the older elderly population.
It means more people are now living beyond 85 years, referred to as the older elderly. They might have different health needs compared to younger elderly people.
Point 3. Aging is more about physiological changes than age. The aging process is more often associated with physiologic changes during aging rather than purely chronological age.
It means aging isn't just about the number of years someone has lived. It's more about how the body changes over time, like how organs and systems work differently as people grow older.
Point 4. Classification of elderly based on age. Chronologically, the elderly have been classified as the young old, ages 65 to 75 years, the old, ages 75 to 85 years, and the old, ages 85 years.
It means elderly people are often grouped into three categories: young old, 65 to 75 years, old, 75 to 85 years, old, over 85 years. Each group might have different health and medication needs.
Point 5. Decline in performance capacity and homeostatic reserve. Performance capacity and the loss of homeostatic reserve decrease with advanced age, but occur to a different degree in each organ and in each patient.
It means, as people age, their ability to recover from stress or illness, homeostatic reserve, declines. This doesn't happen the same way in everyone or every organ. For example, one person may have weaker kidneys, while another may have reduced lung capacity.
Point 6. Changes in cognitive and physical functions. Physiologic and cognitive functions tend to change with the aging process and can affect compliance, therapeutic safety, and efficacy of a prescribed drug.
It means older people might experience memory problems or physical changes that can make it harder for them to follow medication instructions, leading to reduced drug effectiveness or side effects.
Point 7. Elderly patients often take multiple medications. The elderly also tend to be on multiple drug therapy due to concomitant illnesses.
It means, since older people often have several health problems, they may need multiple medications, increasing the chance of drug interactions or side effects.
Point 8. Issues with drug compliance. Decreased cognitive function in some geriatric patients, complicated drug dosage schedules, and/or the high cost of drug therapy may result in poor drug compliance, resulting in lack of drug efficacy, possible drug interactions, and/or drug intoxication.
It means some elderly patients may forget to take their medicines, struggle with complex schedules, or find the cost of drugs too high. These factors can lead to medicines not working, drugs reacting with each other, overdoses or harmful effects. Example: a person taking 3 medicines daily might forget one dose or take the wrong medicine, causing complications.
Point 9. Physiological functions decline with age. Several objectively measured vital physiologic functions related to age show that renal plasma flow, glomerular filtration, cardiac output, and breathing capacity can drop from 10% to 30% in elderly subjects compared to those at age 30 years.
It means key body functions slow down with age. For example, kidneys filter blood less efficiently, heart pumps less blood, lungs take in less oxygen. This decline means medications may work differently in older people.
Point 10. Physiological changes require special considerations. The physiologic changes due to aging may necessitate special considerations in administering drugs in the elderly.
It means, since the body changes with age, doctors must adjust drug doses to avoid side effects or toxicity.
Point 11. Increased risk of drug toxicity. For some drugs, an age-dependent increase in adverse drug reactions or toxicity may be observed.
It means older adults are more sensitive to certain drugs, meaning they may experience more side effects or toxic reactions than younger people.
Point 12. pharmacodynamic changes in drug response. The pharmacodynamic hypothesis assumes that age causes alterations in the quantity and quality of target drug receptors, leading to altered drug response.
It means drugs work by binding to receptors in the body. In older adults, the number of receptors might decrease. Receptors might not bind as effectively to drugs. This can change how drugs work or cause stronger side effects.
Point 13. Pharmacokinetic changes in the elderly. Age-dependent increases in adverse drug reactions are due to physiologic changes in drug absorption, distribution, and elimination, including renal excretion and hepatic clearance.
It means drugs move through the body in 4 main steps. Absorption, how the drug enters the bloodstream. Distribution, how it spreads through the body. Metabolism, how the liver breaks it down. Excretion, how the kidneys remove it. In older adults, absorption may be slower due to reduced blood flow in the stomach. Distribution, fat increases and muscle decreases, so fat-soluble drugs may stay longer in the body. Metabolism, the liver may not break drugs down as efficiently. Excretion, kidneys might not remove drugs as quickly, causing buildup and toxicity.
Point 14. Example of drug effects in aging kidneys. Both penicillin and kanamycin show prolonged TAHF in the aged patient, as a consequence of an age-related gradual reduction in the kidney size and function.
It means drugs like penicillin take longer to leave the body in older adults because their kidneys work slower. This can lead to higher drug levels in the body, increasing side effects. Example calculation using Galt-Cockcroft rule. To estimate kidney function, use this formula. Creatinine clearance is equal to 140 minus age into weight divided by 72 into serum creatinine. If the patient is female, just multiply with 0.85 to get creatinine clearance. This helps doctors adjust doses for safety.
Point 15. Changes in plasma protein binding affect drug distribution. Drug protein binding in the plasma may decrease as a result of decrease in the albumin concentration, and the apparent volume of distribution may change due to a decrease in muscle mass and an increase in body fat.
It means drugs in the bloodstream often bind to proteins like albumin. In older adults, lower albumin levels, fewer proteins are available to bind to drugs, so more free drug remains in the bloodstream, which can lead to stronger drug effects. Changes in body composition. Increased fat. Fat-soluble drugs, example, diazepam, can stay in the body longer, leading to prolonged effects. Reduced muscle mass. Water-soluble drugs, example, digoxin, may distribute differently, increasing their concentration in the blood and potentially causing toxicity.
Point 16. Decline in liver metabolism. The activity of the enzymes responsible for drug biotransformation may decrease with age, leading to a decline in hepatic drug clearance.
It means the liver plays a key role in breaking down, metabolizing drugs. In older adults, phase I metabolism, oxidation, reduction slows down, affecting drugs like benzodiazepines and propranolol, which can accumulate in the body. Phase II metabolism, conjugation generally remains stable, so drugs like lorgipam and oxyspam are less affected by age. Clinical implication. Drugs metabolized by the liver may stay in the body longer, requiring dose adjustments to prevent toxicity.
Point 17. Decline in kidney function affects excretion. Renal drug excretion generally declines with age as a result of decrease in the glomerular filtration rate, GFR, and or active tubular secretion.
It means the kidneys help remove drugs from the body. In the elderly, reduced GFR, slower filtration of drugs, reduced tubular secretion, less effective removal of certain medications. Example drugs, penicillin and aminoglycosides, need dose adjustments to prevent accumulation. Digoxin requires careful monitoring as it's primarily by the kidneys. Calculation example. Using the Galt-Cockcroft rule, creatinine clearance is equal to 140 minus age into weight divided by 72 into serum creatinine. Same. If female, multiply with 0.85 to get creatinine clearance. This formula helps predict how well a patient's kidneys can handle a drug, guiding dose adjustments.
Point 18. Impact of multiple conditions and drug interactions. Elderly patients may have several different pathophysiologic conditions that require multiple drug therapy, increasing the likelihood for a drug interaction.
It means older adults often have multiple health problems, example, hypertension, diabetes, arthritis. This requires them to take several medications, which increases drug interactions. One drug might change how another works, complicates management. Doctors must carefully adjust doses to avoid harmful effects.
Point 19. Poor patient compliance leads to adverse outcomes. Increased adverse drug reactions and toxicity may result from poor patient compliance.
It means elderly patients may struggle to follow their prescribed drug regimens due to forgetfulness, complex schedules, example, multiple pills at different times, cost of medications. This can lead to skip doses, overdoses, or improper use, causing side effects or reduced effectiveness.
Point 20. Age-related changes in drug half-life. Both penicillin and kanamycin show prolonged T-half in the aged patient, as a consequence of an age-related gradual reduction in the kidney size and function.
It means the half-life of a drug, T-half, is the time it takes for its concentration to reduce by half in the body. In older adults, drugs cleared by the kidneys, example, antibiotics like penicillin, may have longer half-lives. This prolongation can lead to higher drug levels in the blood, increasing the risk of toxicity.
Point 21. Plasma protein changes affect drug binding. Age-related changes in plasma albumin and 1-acid-glycoprotein may also be a factor in the binding of drugs in the body.
It means albumin levels lower in elderly people, leading to less binding of acidic drugs, example, warfarin, increasing their free concentration and effects. Alpha-1-acid-glycoprotein may increase with age, binding more basic drugs, example, propranolol, potentially reducing their effectiveness.
Key takeaways for elderly drug dosing are: start low and go slow. Begin with lower doses and adjust gradually based on the patient's response and lab tests. Monitor closely. Watch for side effects or toxicity, especially for drugs eliminated by the kidneys or metabolized by the liver. Adjust for renal function. Use tools like the Gault-Cockcroft rule to calculate kidney function and guide dosing. Simplify regimens, minimize the number of medications, and create easy-to-follow schedules to improve compliance. These factors help ensure safe and effective drug therapy in elderly patients.
Now let's see drug dosing in pediatrics. Infants and children have different dosing requirements than adults. Children's bodies process drugs differently due to differences in size, metabolism, and organ development. Therefore, drug doses cannot be directly scaled down from adult doses. Information for pediatric dosing was generally lacking in the past. Historically, there was little data on how to properly dose medications for children, leading to uncertainty in safe and effective treatment. In December 1994, the FDA required drug manufacturers to determine whether existing data was sufficient to support information on pediatric use for drug labeling purposes and implemented a plan to encourage the voluntary collection of pediatric data. The FDA initiated a requirement for pharmaceutical companies to review existing data and collect additional information about how drugs work in children, aiming to improve drug labels. The FDA modernization authorized an additional 6 months of patent protection for manufacturers that conducted pediatric clinical trials. To encourage companies to study drugs in children, the FDA provided an incentive of extra patent protection for those conducting pediatric clinical trials. As a consequence of various legislative initiatives later, the results of pediatric studies conducted on 322 drugs and biological products are available to help dosing in children. Laws promoting pediatric research have resulted in significant data on how 322 drugs work in children, aiding safe dosing decisions. The studies reveal important new information regarding dosing and pharmacokinetic differences between children and adults. Research has uncovered key differences in how children's bodies process drugs compared to adults, which is critical for accurate dosing. Dosing of drugs in this population requires a thorough consideration of the differences in the pharmacokinetics and pharmacology of a specific drug in the preterm newborn infant, birth to 28 days, infant, 28 days, 23 months, young child, 2 to 5 years, older child, 6 to 11 years, adolescent, 12 to 18 years, and adult. Drug dosing must account for the varying ways different age groups process medications due to changes in body systems as children grow. Unfortunately, the pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of most drugs are still not well known in children under 12 years of age, and the variation in body composition and the maturity of liver, kidney, and other organ functions are potential sources of differences in pharmacokinetics with respect to age. We lack complete data on how many drugs behave in children, especially under 12, due to differences in organ maturity and body composition. For convenience, infants are here arbitrarily defined as children of 0 to 2 years of age. However, within this group, special consideration is necessary for infants less than 4 weeks, 1 month old, because their ability to handle drugs often differs from that of more mature infants. Infants under 4 weeks old are especially unique in how their bodies handle medications, requiring distinct dosing approaches. In addition to different dosing requirements for the pediatric population, there is a need to select pediatric dosage forms that permit more accurate dosing and patient compliance. Dosage forms like liquids or calibrated syringes ensure accurate doses and are easier for children to take. For example, liquid pediatric drug products may have a calibrated dropper or a pre-measured teaspoon, 5 ml, for more accurate dosing and also have a cherry flavor for pediatric patient compliance. Pediatric medications often come in flavored liquid forms with tools like droppers or teaspoons to ensure children get the right dose and take their medicine willingly. Pediatric drug formulations may also contain different drug concentrations compared to the adult drug formulation and must be considered in order to prevent dosage errors. Children's medications may have lower concentrations than adult versions to reduce the risk of overdose, so caregivers must use the correct formulation. Because of the small muscle mass in an infant, alternative drug delivery, such as an intramuscular antibiotic drug injection into the gluteus medius, may be considered for a pediatric patient, as opposed to the deltoid muscle for an adult patient. Infants have less muscle mass, so drug injections may need to be given in different muscles, like the gluteus, instead of the deltoid used in adults. However, body composition is different in infants compared to adults. In general, complete hepatic function is not attained until the 3rd week of life. Newborns' livers are not fully functional until around 3 weeks, which affects how they metabolize drugs. Oxidative processes are fairly well developed in infants, but there is a deficiency of conjugative enzymes, in particular, glucuronidation. Infants' bodies can break down some drugs but lack certain enzymes, like those needed for glucuronidation, which affects drug processing. For example, kernicterus is a form of jaundice in the newborn characterized by very high levels of unconjugated bilirubin in the blood. Newborns with underdeveloped livers may accumulate bilirubin, leading to jaundice and potentially severe brain damage if untreated. Since the tissues protecting the brain, the blood-brain barrier, are not well formed in newborns, unconjugated bilirubin may enter the brain and cause brain damage. Newborns' underdeveloped blood-brain barriers allow harmful substances, like bilirubin, to reach the brain. In addition to reduced liver function in infants, altered drug distribution may occur due to reduction in drug binding to plasma albumin and to different body composition, especially water and fat content. Infants' drug distribution is affected by lower levels of albumin and different body fat and water proportions. Newborns show only 30%, 50% of the renal function of adults on the basis of activity per unit of body weight. Newborns' kidneys are underdeveloped, leading to slower drug elimination compared to adults. Drugs that are heavily dependent on renal excretion will have a sharply decreased elimination half-life. Drugs cleared by the kidneys, like penicillins, take much longer to leave a newborn's body. When dosage guidelines are not available for a drug, empirical dose adjustment methods are often used. In the absence of dosing guidelines, doctors use estimated methods to adjust drug doses for children. These empirical dose adjustment methods are based on body surface area or body weight. Dosing is often calculated using a child's weight or surface area to approximate the correct dose. Dosage based on the child's age and body weight, and normalized to drug dosages in adults, was used in the past. However, pharmacokinetic parameters may vary as a function of age. Age and weight-based dosing, compared to adult doses, is common but may not account for differences in how children metabolize drugs. Dosage based on body surface area has the advantage of avoiding some bias due to obesity or unusual body weight, because the height and the weight of the patient are both considered. Surface area dosing accounts for both height and weight, reducing inaccuracies caused by body shape variations. The body surface area method gives only a rough estimation of the proper dose, because the pharmacokinetic differences between patients of the same body surface area are not considered. While useful, surface area dosing does not fully address individual differences in how drugs are processed. Dosage regimens for the newborn, infant, and child must consider the changing physiologic development of the patient and the pharmacokinetics of the specific drug for that age group. Dosing must be tailored to a child's age and development to ensure safety and effectiveness. In the package insert of new drugs, under the section on use in specific populations, pediatric use information should be consulted for drug-specific information. Drug labels provide specific guidance for pediatric use, which should be reviewed for accurate dosing. Let's talk about drug dosing in obese patients. Obesity has been associated with increased mortality, resulting from increases in the incidence of hypertension, atherosclerosis, coronary artery disease, diabetes, and other conditions compared to non-obese patients. Obesity is linked to a higher mortality rate because it increases the likelihood of developing conditions like hypertension, atherosclerosis, coronary artery disease, and diabetes compared to non-obese individuals. A patient is considered obese if actual body weight exceeds ideal or desirable body weight by 20%, according to Metropolitan Life Insurance Company data, latest published tables. A person is considered obese if their actual body weight exceeds their ideal or desirable body weight by 20%, as per the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company tables. Ideal or desirable body weights are based on average body weights and heights for males and for females considering age. Ideal or desirable body weights are determined based on average weights and heights for males and females considering their age. Athletes who have a greater body weight due to greater muscle mass are not considered obese. Athletes with greater body weight due to increased muscle mass are not considered obese, as obesity relates to excess body fat. Obesity often is defined by body mass index, BMI, a value that normalizes body weight based on height. BMI is expressed as body weight, kg, divided by the square of the person's height, meters, kg by meter square. Obesity is often defined using BMI, which is calculated by dividing weight in kilograms by the square of height in meters. It provides a standardized way to classify body weight. BMI is calculated according to the following two equations. BMI is equal to weight in pounds divided by square of height in inches into 703. Or BMI is equal to weight in kg divided by square of height in centimeters into 10,000. BMI can be calculated using these formulas. An extensive study on obesity has been published by the National Institutes of Health, National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, 2003, giving 5 weight classifications based on BMI: underweight, less than 18.5, healthy weight, 18.5 to less than 25, overweight, 25 to less than 30, obesity, 30 to 39.9, extreme obesity, 40 or greater. Studies have classified BMI ranges: underweight, less than 18.5, healthy weight, 18.5 to less than 25, overweight, 25 to less than 30, obesity, 30 to 39.9, extreme obesity, 40 or greater. BMI correlates strongly with total body fat in non-elderly adults. It is commonly used as a surrogate for total body fat. BMI correlates strongly with total body fat in non-elderly adults, making it a useful surrogate measure of body fat. Excess body fat increases the risk of death and major comorbidities such as type 2 diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, cardiovascular disease, osteoarthritis of the knee, sleep apnea, and some cancers. Excess body fat increases the risk of death and serious health issues like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and certain cancers. An obese patient has a greater accumulation of fat tissue than is necessary for normal body functions. An obese individual with a BMI above 30 has more fat tissue than necessary for normal body functions. Adipose, fat, tissue has a smaller proportion of water compared to muscle tissue. Thus, the obese patient has a smaller proportion of total body water to total body weight compared to the patient of ideal body weight, which could affect the apparent volume of distribution of the drug. Fat tissue contains less water compared to muscle, so obese patients have a smaller proportion of body water relative to their total weight. This can affect drug distribution. For example, Abernethy and Greenblatt, 1982, showed a significant difference in the apparent volume of distribution of antipyrin in obese patients, 0.46 liters per kilogram, compared to ideal bodyweight patients, 0.62 liters per kilogram, based on actual total body weight. For example, a study found that the apparent volume of distribution for antipyrin was lower in obese patients, 0.46 liters per kilogram, compared to those with ideal body weight, 0.62 liters per kilogram. Ideal body weight, IBW, refers to the appropriate or normal weight for a male or female based on age, height, weight, and frame size. Ideal body weights are generally obtained from the latest table of desirable weights for men and women compiled by the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. Ideal body weight refers to the recommended weight for a person based on their age, height, gender, and frame size. BMI is not a very accurate measure of adiposity in certain individual patients, particularly in people with elevated lean body mass, such as athletes, and in children. BMI may not always be accurate for people with high lean body mass, such as athletes, or for children. Other approaches have been used to predict the relationship of obesity to cardiovascular risk, such as waist circumference, waist-to-hip ratio, and the waist-to-hip to height index. Other methods like waist circumference, waist-to-hip ratio, and waist-to-hip to height index are also used to assess obesity and its associated cardiovascular risks. In addition to differences in total body water per kilogram body weight in the obese patient, the greater proportion of body fat in these patients could lead to distributional changes in the drug's pharmacokinetics due to partitioning of the drug between lipid and aqueous environments. The higher fat content in obese patients can affect drug distribution, as drugs partition differently between fat and water in the body. Drugs such as digoxin and gentamicin are very polar and tend to distribute into water rather than into fat tissue. Drugs like digoxin and gentamicin are polar and primarily distribute into water, not fat tissue. Although lipophilic drugs are associated with larger volumes of distribution in obese patients compared to hydrophilic drugs, there are exceptions, and the effect of obesity on specific drugs must be considered for accurate dosing strategy. Lipophilic drugs generally have a larger volume of distribution in obese patients, but exceptions exist, and specific drugs must be evaluated for precise dosing. Other pharmacokinetic parameters may be altered in the obese patient as a result of physiologic alterations, such as fatty infiltration of the liver affecting biotransformation and cardiovascular changes that may affect renal blood flow and renal excretion. Obesity can alter pharmacokinetics due to changes like fatty liver affecting drug metabolism and cardiovascular alterations influencing kidney function and drug excretion. Dosing by actual body weight may result in overdosing of drugs such as aminoglycosides, example, gentamicin, which are very polar and are distributed in extracellular fluids. Dosing of these drugs is based on ideal body weight. Using actual body weight for dosing polar drugs like aminoglycosides may lead to overdosing. Instead, dosing is calculated using ideal body weight. Lean body weight, LBW, has been estimated by several empirical equations based on the patient's height and actual, total, body weight. Lean body weight, representing body weight without fat, is calculated using specific formulas based on a person's height and actual weight. The following equations have been used for estimating LBW, particularly for adjustment of dosage in renally impaired patients. LBW, males, is equal to 50 kilograms plus 2.3 kilograms for each inch over 5 feet. LBW, females, is equal to 45.5 kilograms plus 2.3 kilograms for each inch over 5 feet. LBW is calculated using these formulas to adjust drug dosages, especially for patients with kidney impairment. For males, LBW is equal to 50 kilograms plus 2.3 kilograms per inch above 5 feet. For females, LBW is equal to 45.5 kilograms plus 2.3 kilograms per inch above 5 feet.